And welcome to another Cardinals Nest here on HBC Channel 25. Dean Beckman along with Sports Information Director Donny Nadeau. No, Donny and I don't debate. You won't have any debates here on the show. Today we are going to feature here on the Cardinals Nest, which is the sports show devoted exclusively to St. Mary's athletics. We'll feature the men's and women's cross-country teams at St. Mary's. We have Ward Berndt. He's the head coach for both teams. And a sophomore from the men's squad, Aaron Haley, joining us on the show today. So, guys, welcome. And right now you're in preparation for the MIAC Championships coming up in a couple of weeks, October 27th. Aaron, we'll start with you. You're a sophomore, I said, and sort of a local Winona area person from Plainview. So tell us about how you got started with cross country and then how you eventually ended up landing at St. Mary's.
Well, my 7th grade year I was actually out for football, and so going into the track season, one of the other guys on the team kind of influenced me to go for cross country in the fall. So,
maybe noticed your speed a little bit and,
yeah, maybe,
and running ability in football.
Yeah, so I gave that a shot, and then from there on out, like it just clicked for me. I was able to make the distance runs and able to perform at practice, and then soon the meets too. So.
Well, and I am curious just to touch on that a little bit more, because I know football at Plainview, Elgin, Millville is a very big sport. Typically, it's a good football team. Was it difficult to transition then to cross country?
Well, I guess me not so much. I mean, kind of the smaller guy, but no, I guess it wasn't too difficult to transition.
So then you had a successful high school cross country career. What then influenced you to come to St. Mary's?
Well, we had a lot of success sophomore year on up in high school. Junior year, we ended up winning the state title as a team, and I mean, Ward started talking to me at that point on coming to St. Mary's, and kind of caught my eye a little bit. My sister came here, so I thought, you know, maybe I'd give it a shot and everything like that too, and then Ward kind of convinced me to come here too, and then ended up having a visit here, and I liked what I saw.
And you're only a sophomore. Do you have a major yet, or what are sort of some career aspirations for you?
I was looking into business, so I was thinking marketing, entrepreneurship, something in there. And I don't know if I want to do something with accounting or not, but kind of we'll see that part.
All right.
Ward, we won't want to put you on the spot with Aaron right here, but obviously you saw something in him as a high school runner, and really he's proving that to be correct. What did you see in him in high school, and what are your expectations with him in the future here?
Well, great. Most times I got to see him more as races, but in the race I got to see somebody that was consistent, steady, and a hard worker. He just naturally knew how to race in there too. That's not something you can really coach, but it's something you'd love to have on your team. So that part was really good. It also helped, like you said, his team was state champs his junior year. He's a little bit modest in saying that he was all-state probably last 2 years of his junior, senior year too, so that always helps a little bit too. You always know there's something in the tank there. But I also knew he had a little bit of a lower mileage background, and anytime you see that with somebody still having that much success, it's really exciting to see how much more success they can have with more development.
Aaron, talk a little bit about the difference between this year and last year, because last year you were kind of, you know, one of the lower in the top tier of the St. Mary's runners, and this year you've kind of really stepped into your own. Was there an adjustment over the summer, or was there a big adjustment from that freshman year to this year?
I think it was just getting used to the mileage that you put on. Going into the freshman year, I ended up having troubles with my IT band, so I only had 150 miles on the summer, and then it's kind of just adjusting there from cross country and track and getting used to the longer miles. And then this summer I put on 400 or 500 miles, so that helped a lot there.
Aaron, I want to go back to, I think it was the first race of the year, and correct me if I'm wrong there, but Peter Borash, a fantastic runner. He's a senior, you know, finished first for St. Mary's most of last year, and this year in the first race, you were just a couple of seconds behind him. What was going through your mind when you know, were pretty much right on his heels after that first race, or in the early point of the season there?
I mean, starting off that race, we kind of ran together. That's what we were supposed to do anyways, the first couple miles, and then the last couple miles we turned it on, and that's kind of when the race really got going. And I mean, seeing myself right behind Peter, that's kind of a good feeling there.
Did it kind of tell you that, hey, you had kind of taken that next step now?
Right. I mean, Peter's an outstanding runner, and he's a great guy to run with. And
yeah.
It's interesting, the last home meet that you guys had, then it was the roles were reversed. You took the lead right from the beginning and held it. Talk a little bit about running from the lead, because you know, that's something that not necessarily you're always doing. Is it a different feeling when you have nobody to chase and you're the one that's actually being chased?
And you see, Aaron, Donnie and I have no experience with that, so we really want to know what that's like.
It's different, but in a way it's also the same. I mean, sure, you don't have anybody to chase, but you also are running from the people by that time. I mean, I always feel like there's somebody right on my heels. It sounds like there's always somebody running right behind me. So, I mean, that always gives you that drive to go faster and try harder.
Ward, talk a little bit about the strategy. You know, you and I have talked many times about the approach that you take to a certain race and what you expect from your runners, both the males and the females. But talk a little bit about the strategies that you employ, that you set up for them at any particular meet.
Well, this year we've been a little bit fortunate because the men's team, we have a couple of groupings in there. We have Peter, Jake, normally John Sushri, and Aaron are one of our good groups in there. So, like Aaron was referring to the first race, we tend to try and pack that up a little bit and have each other help each other out through there. And then we have a second grouping that is a little bit behind there too. So we try to get both groups in the best position they can to help each other out as they're going through there. As we get a little further in the season, that tends to break apart a little bit because they're getting more confident with the racing style. We kind of know where everybody's supposed to be and going. So that's, as we get further into it, it's more about competing within yourself, but for the team.
You know, Aaron brought up how great it is to have Peter on the team, and he helps drive and push everybody. I see these guys out practicing a lot, and they're typically all running together. There seems to be, Coach, very good chemistry on the team where they sort of push one another. And cross country is one of those sports where they sort of do compete with one another, yet there are team scores as well. Tell us what you see from a chemistry standpoint and how they really enjoy running together.
Well, both the men and women's team, I think, are very good at this year because with cross country teams, obviously you are competing head to head with your teammates. But at the same point, if all the teammates understand that, the better I run, the better my team's going to be, then it kind of makes it a little bit easier. You really want to compete because Aaron doesn't want to give way to Peter, Peter doesn't want to give way to Aaron, Jake doesn't want to give way to anybody. But that's the nature of the beast, and that's what makes everybody better. And they realize as a team doing that together makes your team better too. So we've been really fortunate with our teams for them to understand that concept.
Aaron, talk a little bit about where you're able to train. I mean, we have some of the the best trails in the probably in the state, maybe in the country in terms of the trails that we have up at St. Mary's, and obviously a little different from high school when you're at Plainview. I don't think you necessarily have the hills that you have here. Is that a big advantage for you guys to be able to train in that kind of an environment?
Yes, I'd say so. I mean, high school, it's honestly pretty flat up by Plainview and everything like that. They don't have much for hills, but I mean, here you have a variety of steep hills or even those gradual rolling hills. I mean, before every race, we're able to prep in a certain way on how the course is going to be viewed. So, I mean, that helps a ton.
And Ward, in terms of that, you talk about preparation. Are there certain training runs you guys do depending on where the race is going to be? If you're going to be at home, do you train harder in the trails? If you're going to be at the MIAC where it's probably a little bit flatter, do you train somewhere else? How do you approach your training in terms of preparation for an event?
That's almost exactly how we train for it because we know the courses ahead of time going into it, and we have a great flexibility in terms of being flat if the course is flat or a little bit more hilly. So what we try to do is the week before or 2 weeks before, we try and do a set of interval series on the course that replicates kind of where the hills would be at the next course we're going to be or where the flats are going to be at the next course and some of the sections where you need to attack. So it gives us a great amount of flexibility in terms of just helping visualize the course before we go into it and just being prepared for when the hills are going to come up.
Aaron, talk about preparation, because I think that one of the misconceptions about cross country especially is you just go out and run. You just run.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot more to cross country than just going out and running.
I mean, a couple weeks in, you have, like this year we have 2 weeks notice pretty much for the next course that we're going to run on. So, I mean, Ward has these workouts ready, and like it gives time for your legs to adjust to the different terrain. Like, I mean, for St. Mary's, it was a lot of hills the couple weeks before, but I mean, lacrosse, it was kind of similar to that, but I mean, once we start training for conference, we start practicing more on the flat level surface and gives your legs time to adjust on, I mean, how to run.
And Ward, you talk about that too a little bit. You don't just go stand out at where they're going to start running and say, okay, go run. There's a lot more to what you have to do in terms of getting these guys ready for an event.
Yeah, because, well, in running, there's no timeouts either. You can't stop them during the race and say, hey, you messed up there. Let's go back and try and do this again. Let's run a play this way. You have to know what you're getting into before you get in there. So it should be a lot of instructions going on. And then also a lot of reflection after the race is done, too. Okay, what happened? What did we do well? What didn't we do well? And how can we make it different or better next time as we go into it?
And Aaron, I'm also curious about off-season training. What are the things you do in the off-season to help prepare you for the season, especially maybe in the way of muscle development or that sort of thing? I'm always in off-season, so I need to hear this too.
I mean, it's pretty basic, so to speak. Ward stresses heavy mileage over the summer. I mean, the more miles, the better. So I find that to be important, but I also find kind of your core and weightlifting and stuff like that kind of get a good base on your body too. I mean, but I would stress the heavy mileage more than anything.
Okay. Ward, it's we've talked a lot about the past part of the season. The biggest, one of the first two biggest races of the year comes up on the 27th, the MIAC Championships. Some high expectations for both teams. They've been running very well. Especially on the guys' side, you've got you've mentioned Jake Traxler and Peter Borash and Aaron and John Souchere and Jace Pater is really coming on. There's some high expectations there to maybe really make some noise this year.
I don't know if high expectation is the right term. I think if we run what we can run, the results are going to be good. We just have to be comfortable, relaxed going into it, and know what we can do. And they've been talking about that. I think they kind of know what their expectations of themselves are going to be coming into it. So.
Aaron, the advantage to having run in one of these last year, probably a different approach to you last year than maybe there will be this year. Talk a little bit about what you expect on the 27th up in St. Paul.
I mean, I don't know how the course is going to be this year. Last year is kind of new going into it. You got the little preview of warming up over the course, but I mean, it's not like I was actually able to race before the race. So this year I'll have that base down, plus I'll kind of get a feel for how the competition will be too. It'll make it, I won't say easier, but easier to understand.
Well, and Ward, I think Aaron right there touches on the advantage of having a very senior-laden team, which you do on the men's side this year. Talk about the advantages of that, but also as you look ahead, you will have a lot of students graduating, so you'll need Aaron as a junior next year to take a leadership role. John Souchere will be back, and I would imagine you'll look to him for a leadership role next year too.
Yeah, having a lot of seniors is great, but like you say, there's a downside to it when they graduate. They've done a great job of taking them under their wings. They're not just a group of seniors that hang out by themselves and don't worry about everybody else. Aaron's been with that group since a freshman year. He's actually taken the role of starting to lead some of the other freshmen that are coming in this year. Souchere's done a good job of that. And there's more kids that are coming into that and understanding what the expectations are to be a good runner. So the seniors did a good job of modeling behavior that the underclassmen are starting to take.
I think you need to I think you need to give these seniors really a lot of credit because I think they've changed the culture and the expectation of what they can do. I remember, and we've talked about it a lot, the SMU No Limit Invitational last year was really kind of their coming out party, and they kind of took an attitude of, you know what, we're not just going to run, we're going to run to win and to compete, and really, Peter and Jake, and they really have created a culture of high expectations rather than just just going out to run.
Yep, absolutely. Senior tradition can be good or bad depending which way you view it. They've established it as a good tradition coming in that, yeah, we're going to be competitive. We're going to be somebody that you have to reckon with on it, and that's just as contagious as anything else too. So.
Well, Ward, as we look at the women's team, it's very contrasting because that's a very young team. So, only one senior on that roster. So, tell us about the women's team, how they've performed compared to your expectations this year, and some of the key performers.
On the women's team, they've been actually pretty exciting for me these last couple meets, especially for sure. They've kind of started figuring out, kind of like the men did last year at the No Limit meet. The women at the No Limit meet started realizing that they can compete too. And Katie Stoles took second there, which kind of surprised herself. She just ran the race she could, all of a sudden found herself in the lead and realized that she can start having some success. I mean, she even finished this last meet fifth all time on our list with only 2 years of really running collegiately. But the rest of the group too is starting to understand that, hey, we can move forward on this. We're not just also ran type people. We're people that are going to try and have some success here.
Well, and Katie, of course, she's only a sophomore. You've got Amy Spitzmuller. She's a junior. She'll be a senior next year. Bolig, Ashley Bolig will be back again. So some really talented young runners who, as you say, are starting to figure things out there. And where do you see them maybe comparing to some of the other conference teams at the championships next weekend?
We had a little ground to make up from last year, and based off the Jim Drews meet that we just did this last weekend, we've closed the gap quite a bit. It's just going to be a matter of if we're healthy and run the race that we can run at that point on how many teams we're going to beat right there. Now I think we are in the mix of competing with a few more teams than we have maybe in the past.
Aaron, talk a little bit about the Jim Drews. You know, obviously, knowing you don't want to talk about yourself. Top time, all time, 8K time that you put together, fantastic for you. But how was it to compete against a lot of the MIAC schools? Because these are the guys you're going to be running against in 2 weeks. Really was the first time that you competed against a lot of the schools from the conference. Is that a good thing heading into next weekend?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, that was a nice way to kind of, so to speak, size yourself up compared to the other guys. I mean, going into it, you have about 460 runners in that race, so there's a tremendous field. And then just throughout the whole race, you kind of were able to compare yourself where you're at, where they're at, kind of how they race, and I mean, that's really helpful.
Ward, last question on Aaron, and I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
He ran at 26. How fast can he go? What's obviously he's not going to be satisfied with with that time.
Yeah.
Well, how far can he improve on that?
Cross country depends on the course, depends on the weather. Sub 26 is obviously reasonable. I would hope on a good day with a good competition, good course, and he just lets go. I don't think a high 25-30s to high 25-40s is unreasonable for him at this stage, for this season even.
There you go, Aaron. Pressure's on now.
New goal. Ward, you had a piece of advice on this show. You've been on the show many times, and one of the things you said, it's really helped Donny out in his running. You said, you get past that 4-mile barrier, it's all the same after that. So just touch on that philosophy. I think it could really help out some of our viewers who maybe are just starting to run or are looking for that little extra push to take them farther. Running
when you're first starting out can be an absolutely miserable experience. There's no doubt about it until you get to a certain fitness level. And actually for Donny, it's a 4-mile mark. Generally, I say it's about 40 minutes getting into a run is when you finally start to feel pretty good. And you feel like you're a runner and you're kind of in that zone where it's easy to run again. It feels good to run again. Mm-hmm. You're not struggling to find your step and trying to get going. So if you can get yourself fit enough to get to that 40-minute barrier, that's when running becomes a much more enjoyable sport. Until you get to that, it's a little bit of a struggle.
And I think sometimes, I know when I was starting, I had to really push myself just to get going, but I always felt great when it was done. So now I always try to tell myself I'll feel great when it's done.
Absolutely.
And Aaron, how about you? What advice do you give beginner runners, whether it's an older adult or students your age, if they're talking about starting to run, what advice do you give them, and what advice do you give them to maybe push it to the next level?
I mean, kind of like what Ward said, I'd start out small with low basic mileage, just kind of getting your legs underneath you, and from there it kind of just builds up. It gets easier as it goes. Mm-hmm. I mean,
so find some success and then build off of that
right,
success.
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Right. All right. Well, thanks for being on the show today, and certainly Ward and Aaron, good luck at the MIAC Championships to both teams, and looking for some success there. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right, stay tuned. Donny and I will be right back, and we'll touch on all of the other fall sports at St. Mary's and a recap of the week right after this here on HBC Channel 25.
You know, we're doing things in bus magazines and the newspapers and things like that, and it's just like we seemed like we needed a different media, and we thought, you know, TV, perfect. Laura, she is awesome. She came out the first time. She was very, very personable, tends to your needs. I mean, anything that you needed, she was right there. I literally, seriously, have been wanting to make more commercials just because it was such a great, fun process. I would recommend HBC to anybody.
Call Laura for details on how to get a free commercial for your business.
How many times in business have you heard this? Your network consultant says your computers are slow because your internet speeds are slow. Then, your service provider says it's not the internet speed, your computers and network are at fault. So which is it? Well, now with HBC's professional services, you don't have to deal with the blame game anymore. We can take care of everything for your business. From designing an entire network to installing a new printer, HBC is here to help keep your business running smooth.
Check us out on the web at hbci.com or give us a call at 888-474-9995.
Winona Homes was offered a deal from another company.
I switched to another company because they made some promises and I was going to get a better rate, so I switched.
But when she tried their deal, she ran into some issues.
The other company that I was with wasn't local. You couldn't even get somebody to come to your office.
At HBC, customer service is our #1 priority for your business. Let's just say Jenny is a lot happier now.
I have never had such fast customer service.
To see how HBC can help your business, call Melanie at 474-5802.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest to recap the other fall sports. Donnie, we had a great conversation on men's and women's cross country, but the volleyball team, the soccer teams are still going on.
Oh, and let's not forget that the winter teams have started as well. You've got both
teams.
hockey and both basketball and swimming are all underway as well. So the overlap has begun.
Yes, it is an active time for sure at St. Mary's. And in volleyball, a rare time for the volleyball team, Donnie, where they did not win the majority of their games at a tournament. This is a tournament-tested team. They typically perform very well at tournaments, but they went to the Stout Invitational and took the first game, but then lost 3 consecutive matches after that.
Yeah, and the interesting part is I talked to Coach Lester about that, and he was extremely happy with the way that they played. He said they played outstanding matches against some very, very good competition. And I think that, you know, as he sets up these schedules and these tournaments, that's his main goal, is he wants to play good competition to make sure that they're prepared for the MIC season, and this tournament in particular really is going to gear them up for their last 4 conference matches, and right now at 3-4 in the conference, that's what matters more than anything, is that they take care of business in these last 4 matches. The nice thing for them is they get all 4 of them at home. It's been a long time since the volleyball team has played a home match. In fact, it's been 12 straight road matches for them, so it's nice for them to get home. The unfortunate part is they get home to face probably the hottest team in the NCAA in St. Thomas on Friday night. St. Thomas will come into that with a 28-match winning. They're 28-1. They've won. You know, their only loss was to the 4th-ranked team in the country, so they're playing extremely good volleyball.
And that was the first game out.
And it was in that first weekend.
Anyway,
so they're playing very well. But you know, I know how Coach Lester gets his team prepared, and we've always had a lot of success against St. Thomas, played them very well. So I'm looking forward to a great match on Friday night, and the fact that it's at home is certainly an advantage for the Cardinals.
Not only will it be a great match, not only is it at home, it'll also be here on HBC Channel 25. We'll have the play-by-play and the video of that, so it's a chance to see some great volleyball action if you can't make it up to the St. Mary's Gymnasium.
Yeah, and I tell you, St. Mary's is very good in volleyball. I spent yesterday with them watching practice, and you know, it's amazing what they can do, and they're a great tight-knit group, and you would not have known that they went 1-3 in that tournament by watching them practice on Tuesday. They're ready to go, they're focused, and they know what they need to do. They've got a lot of work ahead of them in these last 4 matches, but conference tournament, as Coach Lester said, if they do what they're supposed to do and take care of their business, conference tournament will certainly be in their future. So they need to keep going and continue to play good, solid volleyball.
Good. All right, so again, that's a 6:45 start Friday night right here on HBC for that matchup against St. Thomas on Friday night. And in men's soccer, Donnie, there was a 2-overtime tie against Viterbo, and then they also had a game against Wisconsin Lutheran postponed due to weather. What a tie! It was a long affair, and comes out 1-1.
It was a real battle. It was good to see the Cardinals come away with a point on that. It was one of those games that Coach Watkins kind of threw together because the Wisconsin Lutheran game got canceled on Saturday. He wanted to get another game in, so they played on Monday against Viterbo and then hit the road on Tuesday and headed to Grinnell and took a 3-1 loss to Grinnell on Tuesday. A really good, solid regional opponent in Grinnell, and you know, Coach Watkins was pleased with the way they played, but you know, obviously, as we talk about you know, volleyball, those 2 matches mean very little in the grand scheme of things to them, because right now they got to be focused on their final 3 conference games, because they're still in the hunt for a playoff spot, and so it's going to be very important that they're ready to go on Saturday against St. John's, an emotional game for the Cardinals because it is senior day, and they'll be bidding farewell to their 5 graduating seniors, and those seniors have really had a significant impact on this program and have been great leaders this year. And when you've got a team that's as young as the Cardinals are, it was important that these 5 players really stepped up and led the way. And you're looking at Jacob Bina and Cameron McKeith and Gunnar Knutson, Eric Lush, and you know, those guys are, you know, Sam Puff. How can you forget Puff Daddy, who also plays tennis? And so he's a busy man. But you know, those 5 people have really been very influential in the success of the program this year, and when they leave, you know, the Cardinals are going to continue to improve, and they're going to be one of the reasons that that they're doing well and continue to make this program a success.
Well, and they still have a chance in their last 3 conference games to come away with a winning conference record. They're at 3-4 right now, 6-8-1 overall. You know, while the program might not be back yet, it's certainly on its way, right?
No
Donny?
question.
Yeah.
Coach Watkins has done a phenomenal job with this program, and in his 2 years, I think that he's already started to turn things around. Are they where they want to be? Absolutely not. They're going to be, you know, they want to compete for conference playoffs. They want to compete for conference championships, and that's the mentality that Coach Watkins is bringing to this team, and the players are buying in, and they're working hard to see that happen. You know, for them to finish with a above 500 record would be outstanding for this program, especially when you're looking at how many young players, how many freshmen they have in their lineup. And, you know, Coach Watkins is starting 7-8 freshmen a game, and that's, you know, that's almost unheard of in the MIAC, and they're experiencing success with it. So it's obvious that he knows talent. He's getting that talent, and he's getting them to buy into the way he wants them to play. And you know, hopefully they can finish with 3 wins here. That's not out of the realm of possibilities. And if they do that and maybe get a break or 2, they could be playing in the conference tournament.
And as we turn now and look at women's soccer, Donnie, in my intro to Mass Comm class, we talk about the phrase, where does the phrase sound like a broken record come from? We talk about that a little bit. In women's soccer, they had a couple of 2-0 losses their last 2 games out, and now in the last 5 games, just 1 goal. And we've talked about the offense throughout the season, so we are sounding a bit like a broken record, but that's just where things are at right now. They just can't seem to generate the offense. They're staying in all of these games. They're getting great defensive play, just not the offensive output that they need.
Right, and you can talk to Coach Cassidy, and that's the first thing he'll say is we need to find a way to put the ball in the net. They're generating the opportunities. They're just not finishing on those opportunities, and it certainly can be frustrating. And the nice thing every time I talk to Coach Cassidy is this team is together. This team is a family. They're making sure that that everybody stays on a positive keel and continues to work hard. They go and battle at practice every day, and like you said, they're in every one of these games. If they could catch a break here or there, you know, get that offense to really kind of click, and things would be all right with them. And I know that it's been a frustrating season for the women and for Coach Cassidy as well. And you know, you talk about broken records. We've talked so many times on this show about how injuries have just decimated that team. Coach Cassidy, he doesn't even know how many people he's going to have for practice every day, and it makes it tough to prepare for an opponent when you're really not sure who's going to be healthy enough to play. And he would never lean on that as a crutch, but you know, it is the reality that he's dealing with, in that injuries have really decimated his team and made it very difficult for them to put together the kind of team that he envisions the Cardinals to be.
Right. 3 of their last 4 at home, so that should help a little bit. Donnie, Halloween is coming up shortly at the end of October here on the 31st.
Good to see you have your mask on already.
I do. I never leave home without it. But before that even, the softball team will be putting on its Haunted Forest, the Walk of Horror it's called, and it's through the Bluffs at St. Mary's. It's a fundraiser for the softball team, but that's coming up not this weekend, but next Friday and Saturday night, and then again on the 30th and 31st.
Yeah, 26th and 27th of October, and then the 30th and 31st. It's a great event, and I highly recommend for anybody who likes to get a little bit of a scare, you know, come on out to the trails. And Coach Miller does a great job with this fundraiser, and that's the important part too, is they put a lot of effort into it, because it is a fundraiser for them, and it helps fund their trips to Arizona and whatnot. And it's a great time. I know you've been to it many times and brought your kids to it, and you know, hopefully people will show up and get a scare.
All right. Thanks for watching the Cardinals Nest here on HBC.